Today we will be discussing Chapter 4, Section 3, which is found on page 102 in your book. It is titled, The Diversity of Living Things. When you finish this section, you should be able to name the 3 domains and 4 kingdoms of organisms and list the characteristics of each, explain the importance of bacteria and fungi in the environment, describe the role of protists in the ocean environment, describe how organisms interact and depend on each other for survival, and identify plant and animals using a dichotomous key. Do you know how a scientist would classify you? I'd like you to write your response in your science journal. We are in the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Mammalia, order Primates, family Hominidae, genus Homo, and species Sapien. So our scientific name is Homo sapiens. Most scientists classify organisms into 3 domains and 4 kingdoms based on different characteristics. Members of 3 domains get their food in different ways and are made up of different types of cells, the smallest unit of biological organization. The cells of animals, plants, fungi, and protists all contain a nucleus, while cells of bacteria, fungi, and plants all have cell walls. Domain Archaea differs from domain bacteria in their genetics and the makeup of their cell wall. Bacteria are microscopic unicellular organisms that usually have a cell wall and reproduce by cell division. Unlike all other organisms, bacteria and archaea lack nuclei. Bacteria and archaea live in every habitat on Earth, from hot springs to the bodies of animals. Some kinds of bacteria break down the remains and wastes of other organisms and returns the nutrients to the soil. Others recycle nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Certain bacteria can convert nitrogen from the air into a form that plants can use. This conversion is important because nitrogen is the main component of proteins and genetic material. Bacteria also allow many organisms, including humans, to extract certain nutrients from their food. The bacterium E. coli is found in the intestines of humans and other animals and helps digest food and release vitamins that humans need. A fungus is an organism whose cells have nuclei, rigid cell walls, and no chlorophyll, and it belongs to the kingdom fungi. Cell walls act like mini skeletons that allow fungi to stand upright. A mushroom is the reproductive structure of a fungus. The rest of the fungus is underground in a network of fibers that absorb food from decaying organisms in the soil. Fungi get their food by releasing chemicals that help break down organic matter and then absorbs the nutrients. The bodies of most fungi are huge networks of threads that grow through the soil, dead wood, or other materials at which the fungus is feeding on. Like bacteria, fungi plays an important role in breaking down the bodies of dead organisms. Some fungi, like some bacteria, cause disease. Athlete's foot is an example of a condition caused by a fungi. Other fungi add flavor to food, as in blue cheese. The fungus gives cheese both its blue color and strong flavor. Yeasts are fungi that produce the gas that makes bread rise. Protists are diverse organisms that belong to the kingdom Protista. Most protists are unicellular and microscopic organisms. Some are animal-like, an example being an amoeba. Others are plant-like, such as kelp and diatoms, which float on the ocean surface. Some protists even resemble fungi. Another protist named Plasmodium is a unicellular organism that causes the disease malaria. This disease is transmitted by mosquitoes. From an environmental standpoint, the most important protists are algae. Algae are plant-like protists that can make their own food using light energy from the sun. They range from the size of a giant kelp to the unicellular phytoplankton, which are the initial source of energy in most ocean and freshwater ecosystems. Plants are multicellular organisms that make their own food using light energy from the sun and have cell walls. Most plants live on land where they can use leaves to get sunlight, oxygen, and carbon dioxide from the air, while absorbing nutrients and water from the soil using their roots. Leaves and roots are connected by vascular tissue. Vascular tissue is a system of tubes consisting of thick cell walls. Its function is to carry water and food throughout the plant. Plants with no vascular tissue are called non-vascular plants. Non-vascular plants lack specialized conducting tissues, roots, stems, and leaves, so water must move from the environment throughout the plant. Non-vascular plants such as mosses live in damp places. Gymnosperms are woody vascular seed plants whose seeds are not enclosed by an ovary or a fruit. Conifers such as pine trees are gymnosperms that bear cones. Gymnosperms have several adaptations that allow them to live in dry conditions. One adaptation is the conifer's needle-like leaves. They are coated with a thick, waxy cuticle that helps prevent the plant from losing water. Much of our lumber and paper come from gymnosperms. Angiosperms are flowering plants that produce seeds within fruit. Most land plants are angiosperms. The flower is the reproductive structure of the plant. Some angiosperms, like grasses, have small flowers that use wind to disperse their pollen. Other angiosperms have large flowers to attract insects and birds. Many flowering plants depend on animals to disperse their seeds and carry their pollen. Most land animals are dependent on flowering plants. Most of the food we eat, such as wheat, rice, beans, oranges, and lettuce, come from flowering plants. Building materials and fibers such as oak and cotton also come from flowering plants. Animals cannot make their own food. They must take it in from the environment. Animals' cells have no cell walls, so their bodies are soft and flexible. Some animals have evolved hard skeletons, allowing their muscles to pull and move their body. As a result, animals are much more mobile than plants. All animals move around in their environment during some stage of their lives. Invertebrates are animals that do not have backbones. Many live attached to hard surfaces in the ocean and filter their food out of the water, such as corals, various worms, and mollusks. These organisms are only mobile when they are larvae. Other invertebrates, including squid in the ocean and insects on land, actively move in search of food. More insects exist on Earth than any other type of animal. Insects are successful for many reasons. They have a waterproof external skeleton. They can move and reproduce quickly. They are diverse and widespread. Most insects can fly, and their small size allows them to live on little food and hide from their enemies in small places. Many insects and plants have evolved together and depend on each other for survival. Insects carry pollen from male fruit pods to fertilize a plant's egg, which develops into fruits such as tomatoes, cucumbers, and apples. Insects are also valuable because they eat other insects that we consider to be pests. However, insects and humans are often enemies. Blood-sucking insects transmit human diseases such as malaria, sleeping sickness, and the West Nile virus. Insects do most damage indirectly by eating our crops. Vertebrates are animals that have backbones. This includes mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. The first vertebrates were fish, but today most vertebrates live on land. Amphibians live part of their life on land, but must return to the water to lay their eggs. The first land vertebrates were reptiles. These animals were successful because they have an almost waterproof egg which allows the egg to hatch on land, away from predators in the water. Birds are warm-blooded vertebrates with feathers. They keep their hard-shelled eggs and young warm until they develop insulating layers of fat and feathers. Mammals are warm-blooded vertebrates that have fur and feed their young milk. Both birds and mammals have the ability to maintain a high body temperature, which allows them to live in cold areas where other animals cannot live. A dichotomous key is a tool that allows scientists to determine the identity of an organism in the natural world based on the organism's characteristics. Dichotomous means divided into two parts. Dichotomous keys always give two distinct choices in each step. Often they are opposites, like land, water, no legs, many legs, round, pointed. We are going to practice using a dichotomous key to try to identify a fictitious creature from this slide. When using a dichotomous key, you only do one organism at a time. In this case, it is only one creature at a time. Always start with the clues in step number 1. The creature has one eye, or the creature has two eyes. It has one eye, so we follow the clue and we go to step 3. At step 3, you have another dichotomous choice. Does the creature have one or more antennae, or does the creature have no antennae? It has one or more antennae, so we go to step 6. At step 6, our clues are the creature has one antenna or the creature has two antennae. Since it has two antennae, we know its name is C. If the clue led us to another step, we would keep going until you came to the creature's name.